There were years in my life where every morning started exactly the same way. I would wake up hungover, drag myself to work, and get through the day so I could go out that night and do the whole thing again. And I told myself I was living it up and wild and free and having the time of my life. The truth is, I was just repeating the same destructive behavior over and over again. Go out, get wasted, come home, sleep, wake up, feeling like garbage, trudge through work, and then do it all over again. And somewhere in the middle of those years, I started asking the question that probably brought you to this video. Why does this keep happening to me? Here's the thing about that question. When we ask it, we're almost never asking about ourselves. We're asking about them, the people who raised us, the ex who did what they did, the family that never showed up. And I want to be straight with you because this is part nobody says. You might be right about every single one of them. The thing that happened to you really happened. And that's exactly what makes this behavior so hard to see. I grew up in a closed religious community and everything was decided for me. What to believe, who to trust, what my life was supposed to look like. I left when I was 18 and I walked out of there with the best excuse list a person could possibly carry. If anybody had the right to say my problems came from somewhere else, it was me. But here's what I found out the hard way. I escaped the environment and the beliefs came with me though. So even after I left, the beliefs still were there. For years after I left, I kept repeating the same behaviors. A relationship would end and I'd be right back in the bars, running the same nights with the same people. And every time I had the same story about why. There's a line in my book that's embarrassing to me to read now, but it was the truth of how I lived. I was foolishly looking for a new woman to fix me. And I honestly believe that if I just had the right person next to me, she could solve all my problems. Somebody to blame and somebody to wait for. Every single time, that's how it went. You've probably heard the quote people talk about with Einstein. The definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over again and expecting a different result. When I wrote my book, I put one sentence next to that quote. Under this definition, I had been insane my entire life. Because here's what I know now about blame. Most of mine was accurate. And being right about who hurt me never fixed a single one of my behaviors. The story about them just kept the behavior alive. Nothing started changing until I got in the picture. When I finally stopped drinking for good, something happened that had never happened before. For the first time in my life, I recognized that my problems were inside of me. And I don't mean like beating yourself up. I mean it was the first good news I'd had in years. Because if the problem lived inside me, then for the first time, I had the power to fix me. Nobody to wait for, nobody who had to change me first. I didn't have to find someone. These days, I do that on purpose, and the process is simple enough to say it in one breath. You take the last time you did the behavior and you slow it down. What did you feel right before you did that thing? When is the earliest you remember feeling exactly that? And what did you decide about yourself back then? Under mine, the belief was that somebody else was supposed to fix this. When I finally rewrote that one in my words, the behavior lost its grip. I've been sober since 2017, and not because I found more willpower, but because the person I decided to become didn't need to escape anymore. It doesn't come and then we become. We become and then we receive. Now I want to be careful here because I'm not saying any of it has to be your fault or that it was your fault. The people who hurt you are responsible for what they did, and that stays true forever. And you are responsible for the behaviors that are still running today. Both of those things are true at the same time. One of them you can't do anything about, and the other is yours. So here's what I'd ask you to do before you close this video. Think about the last time your thing happened, whatever it was, and whatever your version of it is. What did you first feel right before it started? When is the earliest you can remember feeling exactly that? And who was there? Write it down, what you find, even if it's rough. If you want help with it, I made a free guide that walks you through finding the pattern underneath the things that you keep doing. So comment pattern and I'll send it to you.